Hey folks, welcome back to Good Enough Customs. So, yeah, last week, sick as a dog, some sort of flu bug, I don't know. Still dealing with the after effects, got a cough that won't go away, still got a little snot thing going on. So, it's been an interesting weekend trying to film. It seems like every time I get to talking a whole bunch, I start getting coughing fits. So, there hasn't been a whole lot of filming going on. I have been doing a lot, but it's just been easier to just do it, as opposed to filming. You know, I apologize for that. I'll go over everything that I've done, but, and I do have some video of some of the stuff that I've done, but, yeah, there's a lot I didn't film this weekend, working on, little John here. That dang flu bug really took it out of me. So, I was down for a solid week. During that week, or actually right as I got sick, Jackson let me know that his heater wasn't working anymore. And so we went to investigate that and come to find out that the water pump's just pissed some coolant right out of it. So got to replace the water pump. Well, then I got sick. So couldn't quite do that. So he's been driving my daily since. And that was a week and a half ago, something like that, almost 2 weeks ago. Well, as soon as I got to feeling a little bit better, you know, I still have this guy in here. So getting, you know, little John out of the way to work on it after work or something like that just wasn't really going to work. So then it was like, oh, okay, cool. We can do it this coming up weekend. Jackson wants to be involved with it. Good thing, because, you know, it's his truck. So right as we're getting ready to get involved with it, he gets sick. So he has the same crap. So now it's just like, okay, it's almost 2 weeks in. I've been driving Big John to and from work. It's fine. Other than the starter wanting to go out on it. Anyhow, he's now better. I'm better. I guess we're doing about the same, still coughing and everything, but we're not running favors and feeling like I got hit by a bus. So, so I came out here, today's Sunday, I came out here Friday night, did some work on the brake lights, trying to troubleshoot that mess. You know, if you remember back, I said I was going to order some new lenses, for little John, you know, or I may just steal these and order new lenses for this. I ended up ordering new lenses. They were like $31 a piece on Amazon. Well, I fixed the brake lights. So, we got good brake lights, nice and shiny, real nice, real pretty. So new lenses, I got the brake lights working. Going through that whole process was a lot of fun and very aggravating. So going through that whole process was, very aggravating. I got new sockets for the brake lights / tail lights. Went ahead, those things are like $5 a piece, put those guys in there. And now the socket's a lot better, because the old sockets, you know, what are they, 40 years old, 38 years old? I figured that out one day. I don't remember. It's like 30-something years old. So got the old sockets out, put the new sockets in, still is having the same problem. So I was like, all right, crap. We're going to have to start going under the truck, tracing these wires back. So I started back here. Of course, I was getting no voltage over here. I was getting 11.8 or so right here. Went underneath right in this neighborhood where it goes from here to the passenger side. Found where they had looped on, just like they did under the hood, looped on some cables, stripped the sheathing back, and just, you know, wrapped stuff around it and used electrical tape, and just kind of had it hanging. So I was like, oh, well, this could be the problem. No, that wasn't a problem. That was just another problem. So, walked it back. The cable seems fine all the way back. Got all the way back up here into the cab, and, well, I don't want to show the cab just yet, but, got all the way up into the cab and started looking at the fuse panel, and that's where I found the problem. The fuse is supposed to be a 15 amp fuse. I had a 30 amp fuse in there, so I was just like, okay, so that tells me there's a problem. So I pulled that 30 amp out. I didn't have a 15. I threw a 20 in there. I was like, that's closer. But when I was putting it back in there, I discovered that the little prongs that sit on the feed side, so, you know, you got two sides of the fuse. You got your power side where the power's coming in, goes through the fuse, and then hits the feed side to feed back out. So on the feed side, the little prong where the blade slides into, it was missing the bottom one. So it was just kind of, you know, the blade just barely touching. So my thought is it was probably getting enough contact to put the 11.8 volts back here on the driver's side. Had enough to put the voltage back here, but it wasn't enough connection to carry the current to light the bulb. That's why the bulb never would light, but I still had almost 12 volts. And then my guess is enough resistance was in here to where it just wasn't able to carry that voltage over to the passenger side. So, you know, I was like, all right, well, let's see what we can't do here. Put the new fuse in there, got it all kind of got it kind of rigged up, but it's better than it was. It's definitely better than it was. It's definitely secure now. I thought I had it fixed at one point, and I was showing Jackson the brake lights, you know, how they were working, you know, the nice shiny new lenses and all that stuff, and I had no brake lights. I was like, oh, you son of a. So figured out a little bit better way to fix it. So basically what I did was I took a spade connector and just kind of jammed it in there, just wedged it up against the contact for the feed side coming back. So it's in there pretty snug. I don't anticipate that guy falling out. I wiggled on it and it doesn't want to budge. So that's good. But that in no way will affect the fuse's ability to do what it needs to do. So if there is a hard short or something along those lines, it'll still pop the fuse. It'll still do its job. So we don't have to worry about that. Not bypassing any safety issues here. Let's see. What else did I do? I replaced the cab lights, as you might could tell. They were the yellow. I went ahead and put the smoked ones on there. I like the smoked ones. I'm not sure I like the smoked ones on the red, though. I may end up going and getting another set of orange ones to put up here, but or maybe some clear ones. I don't know, but they're kind of growing on me. But went ahead and replaced these guys and got them wired in. So they're LED. They still look really good. So that was a lot of fun standing on a stool and really reaching out there to get all this wired up and done. Got that guy sorted out. Nothing really unexpected there. The only thing I ran into doing these guys is, you know, it's a daisy chain. So we have a cable underneath the dash that comes up, feeds here, and then it just loops, you know, over to the next ones. You know, typically when you find two color wires, you know, like in this instance, I had a white wire and I had a black wire. Typically you're going to go, oh, well, black's going to be ground, because 99% of the time black's ground, especially on automotive stuff. So I wired it up that way. At least I only wired one up that way. And I was like, you know what, let me test this real quick. And it didn't light. And I was like, what the crap? So I traced the wire out, gonna find out the hot's on the black and the ground's on the white. So flipped polarity, lights came on, good to go, and then finished up doing the rest of them. So got all that done. So that's good. So now we have operating headlights, marker lights up front, marker lights out back, brake lights, signal lights. They're all working. It's, you know, fantastic. I did order a new lens, or actually a new set of lenses, because that one's not busted out over there, but it is spider webbed. So I did order a new set of these. Again, super cheap. Ordered off of Amazon. It was like, I want to say it was like $50 or something like that for the pair, which is totally fine. Now I did go ahead. I was like, you know what? I want to make this front end look a little bit better, because this grill, you know, it's busted. It's got a slat busted there. It's, you know, shattered here. It's got a big crack here. The GMC's been painted partly there, and then these are, you know, original color, and are cracked and they look like crap. So I did go ahead and order a new grill. So this guy's super nice, but it does not have the GMC emblem on it. It has the cutout for the GMC emblem, but there's no emblem there. And it's not quite the same as this one. So like on this one, you have the open end for the C, you have the, you know, the open ends, you know, open in the G, open in the M, where that one, it's a solid block. These are just blocks. So little difference, but you know, whatever. That one looks really, really nice. As soon as I figure out what I want to do for letters, then I'll probably put it on here. But until then, I'm just going to rock this guy. Because you can actually order these letters. I found them on eBay, but the letters cost more than the grill did. I think the grill was $75, but they're wanting like $85 for the GMC letters. So what I may end up doing is getting some vinyl cut and just putting vinyl in there or something. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that's kind of where my brain is right now. Just maybe I'll just get some vinyl letters done for that. All right, moving up to underneath the hood. I know, I'm covering a lot right now. I finally put the air cleaner on. This is the air cleaner that came off the truck. You might say, man, that thing is shiny. And yes, it is. It was covered in some surface rust. I just took some double-aught steel wool and just rubbed the crap out of it, which knocked 99% of the rust off of it. You can still see there's some still little pitted spots, and you know, it ain't perfect, but you know, we know the name of the channel. So, and then I took a little bit of metal polish and just came back just to kind of shine it up a little bit. And then I went and bought a new filter element for it, because the other one, you couldn't even see light through it. So figure a new filter element, put this on there. So now my carb's got filtered air coming into it. That's pretty much it underneath the hood. That's pretty much it as far as the electrical is concerned. So some of the other stuff I've been working on is, you know, the dash pad. Somebody used freaking hot glue. I was cleaning it up. It was coming along pretty good. But what I was able to get off by hand was just kind of a drop in the bucket. I mean, there was a lot still on there. I went back through, used heat on it. I even got an actual razor blade out and was scraping on it, trying to get some of this stuff off. And then finally I was just like, some of it just wouldn't budge even with the razor blade. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's hit it with some brake clean. So I hit it with some brake clean, and soaked a rag down with brake clean and held it on top of the hot glue. That tended to break it down a little bit to where it was coming up a little bit easier, but it still looked like crap by the time I was done with it. It's still, you can still see where all the glue was. Now, there weren't big white globs everywhere, but you can still see all the lines and snake marks and everything across all of it. So I ended up just cleaning up the little plastic cover, which, you know, is now not hot glued down, not that it was before. It's not really fastened down in any way, shape, or form. The only spot I did do is this bottom edge down here under the band. That bottom edge was broken over on the far corner, so this piece was just kind of flopping around. So I just took a little bit of glue like right in here and just kind of glued it to the dash. Just a section of about, you know, a couple of inches. So that'll hold that part on there. Not worried about the top part. It's actually held on by the CB clip over here. So, you know, it works. Also kind of repaired our tack. The base was broken off of it, so I just glued the base back to the back of this guy. So we got a tack now. I got it mounted back up, got it wired in. Hopefully it works. I didn't test it to see if it actually does work or not. I did go through, I don't know if you remember how these guys looked. Again, I didn't cover a lot of this stuff because felt like crap and was just trying to get stuff done. But I did come back on both my door panels, so you can kind of see the door panel over there as well. And basically just hit it with the propane torch. You know, a lot of people say don't do that, it ruins them, but it does bring the color back big time. This thing was super chalky. I don't know how long it'll last, but it did bring the color back out on it. Pretty good. I mean, I was surprised at how well it came out. And again, on the passenger side, same thing. It really brought the color back out on that door panel over there. Again, I know people say don't do that, it ruins them. These door panels were in such bad shape, I didn't care. So, and if I end up keeping the truck, these door panels will get replaced with a different color, because I'll probably change the color interior, because I'm not a big fan of red interior. So, so that pretty much sums up the inside of the truck. You know, as far as cleaning and straightening up and, you know, trying to make it look a little bit nicer. One thing I did do, it was on my list, and I did it. I did film a little bit of it. But again, I was having coughing fits, so it was really hard for me to do it, and cramped space. I did get the glove box mounted up, and I can go over real fast how we did this. Basically, you're going to take your glove box, go ahead and latch it in, get it hung where it kind of needs to be. Then you can adjust your piano hinge, which is like $6 at the hardware store. Find you a common spot that a screw or a bolt will go in, like this one was the one I was able to use. Get it all kind of laid out, and then mark all your holes along the bottom of the plastic edge of the original plastic hinge on the bottom of the glove box. And then take and rivet those guys in. So they're just riveted into the plastic. So that works out okay. Once you get it all riveted in, bring it back over, hook it back up, lay this guy in, get your one bolt back in where it needs to go, and then you'll have to drill out the other holes to get those to line up. But it's just a simple 1/8 inch hole. Just drill them out, and you should be good to go. So now we have a functioning glove box, but of course my you know, the lock on it's busted, so we can open it up. It opens up and does just like it needs to, and just like with any Chevy truck, on their old glove box, you got to beat on a little bit to get it to sit. So now it latches and holds itself in place. And whenever I do get this guy registered and get, you know, insurance on it, then that's where I can keep it. So whole bunch of stuff been going on over the weekend with the truck, but like I said, unfortunately I haven't filmed a whole lot of it. You know, again, I apologize. It's one of those things. There's so many little things that I was trying to focus on to get done so I can get this truck out, so I can get Jackson's truck in, so we can do the water pump, so I can get my daily driver back. It's something I had to give, and it ended up being, you know, filming. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with nothing. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff to do on this truck, but as far as putting it on the road, we're there. So I'm super excited. I went ahead and cleaned out the bed, so the bed's clear of all the other crap that was in it. I got to pull my lights down off the truck, and since we know this thing's very cold natured, I got to get the truck started and get it warmed up so I can get it out of the shop. So I think that's what we're going to do. Oh, I got one last thing to do here. So there is one last thing to do before we pull the truck out of the shop, and that's going to be, we got to tag it. Got to put a sticker on it. So we're going to take that sticker, we're going to stick it right there in that corner of the window, and she'll be official. So all right, let me get some stuff sorted out and moved around and get the truck started. I got to get Harvey out of the way so I can get this truck out, and we'll get this truck backed out, and we'll go for a little ride. Is out of the shop under his own power, and we gonna go for a ride. You want to go for a ride? You want to go for a ride? Oh man, this is exciting. This truck hadn't been on the road in like 10 years, so it'll be the first time I've driven it, so hey, this will be great. All right, let me I think we're good to go, so I'll let Jackson know that I'm running out, and just in case something happens and I need to ride back. So all right, I'll catch back up with you here in just a few minutes once we get on the road. All right, so driving this thing and manning a camera is a little difficult, especially on curvy old country roads. I am running. Let me concentrate on driving first. Oh, there we go. A little slop in the shifter, so it's a little difficult to kind of figure out where second is. Keep wanting to go into low. Taking a look at our vitals, we're getting a little warm, and I'm really just down the road. I haven't gone very far at all, but I will say she's driving pretty good. Steering's not crazy on the slop. It's got a little bit, but it's not bad. Hold on, another big turn. Okay, cool. I'm just rolling third. Yeah, it's not too bad on the steering. Brakes are starting to bed in okay. They're still a little, yeah, they're not quite there yet. They still got to get broken in a little bit. But my odometer is not working, so I don't really know how fast I'm going. But I'm turning about 2,500 RPM. I'm guessing I'm going about 45, maybe, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, just keep an eye on that thermostat. It's should get a little warm. I can feel the heat coming through into the truck. I'm gonna end up having to pull it off and let her cool down a little bit. She's getting hot. So I think I'm gonna find a spot to turn around. I'm not that far from the house. Find a spot to turn around, head back to the house, and we'll give this another go here in just a little bit once I figure out why we're getting so hot. All right, so pulled off. I just went ahead and drove a little bit on further out, you know, why not? Pulled off at this old farm and feed store over here. Man, Makes for a nice backdrop. You probably saw it on the thumbnail. So, but we are over here next to the railroad tracks. So we do have an underpass just over here where people have to honk before they goes. It's a 1-lane underpass. So if you hear honking in the background, that's what it is. Yeah, so we got a little hot, a little on the warm side. I never saw it get above 210-ish. It did get pretty warm though. Yeah, I saw it get about 210. It hadn't really gone above that. It did whenever I first shut the truck off. It got above 210. But now that we've been sitting here with the hood up, I've been sitting here about 15 minutes with the hood up, just kind of letting some air get to it, try to cool this motor off just a little bit. Try to figure out, I guess we're going to try and figure out exactly why we're getting hot. We got coolant. The clutch fan may be bad. I don't know. It seems, well, no, there's no clutch on it. It's a hard mounted fan. So yeah, it's a hard mounted fan in there. It could be the water pump. You know, I never did replace this guy. It would make sense that the water pump's probably bad or something. So, but it is moving coolant through the radiator and everything else. So one of the other things it possibly could be is, you know, I never did fill this guy or, you know, cap this guy, you know, so we're probably losing pressure in the system through this. With no pressure, it's going to boil a little bit quicker. It's going to heat up a little bit faster. So so I've got to get that addressed. I think what I may end up doing here is just getting a hose and taking a hose and running it down and putting like just an old jug down here and just having that hose poke into that jug and put a little water in it. That way it's got something to draw on if it needs it. It can overflow to it if it needs to, you know, something like that. Just a temporary little overflow bottle is all I'm looking to do here. But I will say the truck runs and drives great. The steering's fairly tight. I mean, it definitely could use, you know, ball joints, and probably every bit of the steering probably needs to be replaced, but it doesn't wander really bad. It's not all over the road. It's not a handful. So it did really well driving down here. You know, we can get a good little walk around with it with the new wheels, or the cleaned up wheels. Yeah, it's Little John's running pretty damn good. I'm pretty tickled. The brakes are a little bit soft. That could be partly the rear brakes just need to be adjusted a little bit better. It could be maybe I still got a little air in the line in the rear. I would hope not, but it's possible. So there may be a little bit of air back there. Front brakes, I can feel them guys grabbing, doing just fine. They're doing their job. Back brakes, I'm not really feeling a whole lot coming from there. So maybe we got a problem back there in the back brakes, but we'll address that later. No big deal. It doesn't affect the drivability of the truck. Now, if I was going to be towing stuff with it, yeah, I'd probably go ahead and address that and see if we can't figure out what's going on there. So, but yeah, I'm pretty tickled, man. This thing, she runs and drives pretty good. I think what I may do just as a temporary thing is, you know, this paint's shot. I mean, there's no real saving this. It needs a paint job, but you know, I am not above polishing a turd. So we may go through and do a little, you know, a little spit shining on this guy, polish it up a little bit, try to make it look a little bit better. But I think this thing's going to run and drive just fine for quite some time, I would hope. So I think right now what I'm gonna do is just sit here and let this guy finish cooling off a little bit, try to get that temperature back down to the 170, 180 range, something like that. We'll get her fired back off and make sure that everything looks copacetic here. You know, it could be something as simple as we've just got a, you know, a thermostat that opens too late. Maybe it's got a 190 thermostat in it and it really needs like a 165 or 180 thermostat. So it could be something as simple as that. It could be the water pump does need replacing. It's not leaking yet, but it could stand for replacing. You know, it could be that the fans, hell, the fan could be on there backwards. I don't think it is because I can feel air pushing through. So we may be all right on that front. But yeah, I'm pretty tickled so far. So like I said, I'm gonna let this guy finish cooling down, then we'll take it for a little bit more of a ride and get a little bit better feel for what's going on with this guy. So I'll check back in with y'all here in just a little bit. All right, so we've cooled down quite a bit. We're down to, I don't know, 165, 170, something like that. So since I don't have tags or insurance, or any proof of ownership of this truck, because that's sitting at the house. I'm gonna go ahead and just take the back roads on back home. So yeah, I'm not gonna take this thing through town, but yeah, I figure we'll start riding back towards the house now. And since we're cooled down, we'll see if she warms up really good again as we hit the road. So well, let's get going. Yeah, as soon as we started rolling again, as soon as we started putting any RPM on this motor, that thing jumped up to damn near 200 on the temperature. So definitely a coolant issue somewhere. We'll have to sort that out and figure out exactly what's going on there, why it's getting so hot. So I'm gonna hurry up and get this guy on back to the house, and yeah, hopefully we won't get it too terribly hot by the time I get there. And I guess I'll catch up with y'all whenever I get back to the house. Back to the house all in one piece. No major calamities, nothing like that. Now granted, it was probably a total round trip of about 6 miles, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it wasn't a whole long ways. Wow, that's hot. It wasn't a ton of, distance, but it was enough to give it a quick shakedown, kind of figure out some things that we need to address. One, definitely the cooling. This guy's getting hotter than crap with not a lot of distance. Like I said, keep the RPM down under 2,000. It kind of stays at that 210 range, but once you climb up over about 2,000 RPM, you can just literally watch the thermostat just start climbing. So that's definitely an issue. I did notice that we do have a little bit of a chirp going. That's kind of new. Hadn't really noticed that before. Golly, it's hot under there. So that chirp is, I'm wondering, I'm like, well, maybe it is the water pump. Water pump chirping, just making a little racket. So, I mean, it very well could be that the water pump is going out. I'm not seeing a puddle or anything, but I'm also not gonna like really stick my face down in there right now because it's pretty damn hot. So I'm gonna let this guy cool off a little bit. I'm thinking we may go ahead, water pumps are cheap, so we may go ahead and just replace that water pump. It probably could stand new belts too. So we'll probably do that at the bare minimum, get that stuff done. But I mean, come on, can you beat it? Come on. So little John is definitely a runner, not without his little bit of problems, but that's okay. Like I said, I still got to get this thing tagged. I still got to get insurance on it so I can actually drive it. But I guess what we'll probably end up doing is putting a water pump on this guy and see if that cures up our overheating issue. So while little John's outside kind of cooling off, taking a little chill pill, I've got a lot to clean up in here. Whenever I first put in the new oil pressure gauge, I didn't use the right fitting, so it puked a bunch of oil out. So I got a whole bunch of oil here, a whole bunch over there, a little bit of coolant stuff I spilled over here, and then just general stuff all over the floor. So I got to get all that stuff cleaned up, which is no big deal. I'll get all that cleaned up, and then we got to pull Harvey in here and put a water pump on that. And then maybe we'll just pull little John in and put a water pump on that. But I wanted to go over some numbers with you. I know I haven't really, I've said kind of, okay, I spent this on this part or this on this part, which, on average is like 30 to 50 bucks. It's not been a whole lot of money spent on parts. So I kind of wanted to give a little insight into, the money I have wrapped up in this truck and kind of where I am with that. So when I bought this truck, I bought it at at like an estate auction type situation. You know, I ended up throwing a bid on there, and I ended up bidding 20, I think it was 2,300, maybe 2,350, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's kind of where I wanted to be on the truck. I didn't really want to spend more than that, and I didn't include like auction fees. I forgot about those. So yeah, those kind of hurt. So ended up walking away with the truck for around $2,700, which really isn't that bad. I kind of wish some of the body stuff wasn't as bad as it was. Like I said, it only had like 3 or 4 pictures that came with the listing, so I wasn't sure everything I was getting into on the body, but that's okay. I'm only in the truck $2,700 at this point. Put a set of tires on it. That was right around $600, so go ahead and call that on up to about $3,300. Mount balance, paint supplies, stuff like that, we're probably sitting closer to $3,600. You know, odd and end pieces like brakes, you know, brake pads, shoes, bearings, because we had to replace those guys, calipers, all this other stuff. You know, that's one of those nickel and diamond type things. So I didn't keep up with it. I've got all the receipts sitting somewhere or in a multitude of places. So I'm not sure exactly how much I spent on that, but we'll go ahead and say safely it was around $500. So I'm probably sitting somewhere in the $4,000, $4,200 range on that truck, which if you look at it, as soon as I get the cooling thing sorted out, I know, you know, spend another $50 on a water pump and another 15 on coolant. So, you know, sitting at around 4,200, 4,300 maybe by the time I get done with the water pump. I'm not in bad shape on that truck. Scouring good old Facebook Marketplace, you see dualies pop up all the time, most of them being flatbeds. You don't see a ton of regular cab dualies with the dually bed. For some reason, they're almost always flatbeds. But you do find them, but they're just not as common as the flatbed variant. So just kind of poking around, looking and seeing what all's out there, what people are selling. Around about $5,000 to $6,000 is kind of where they're living right now. So I mean, for a good bodied, running, driving, the other ones weren't even, you know, new tires or anything like that, new brakes. They were just, yeah, it runs and drives, needs some work, you know, and they're like $5,000. So if I do elect to sell this thing, I could probably go maybe $6,500 out of it. It'd make somebody a great builder truck. I may not do that. I really want to lower this thing. It's killing me. But that's going to cost me another $800 to $1,000 to lower it. And that's just not in the budget right now. But man, I really want to lower this thing. Something about a dually, man. They look great sitting on the ground. So that's not in the budget right now. But once we get it sorted out with the cooling issue, like I said, shouldn't be anything more than probably a water pump, maybe a thermostat, swap them both out while I'm in there. That should sort that guy out, and then I'll have a pretty reliable sounding. It feels and sounds pretty reliable for a daily truck for, you know, a little over $4,000. Not bad. And if I decide I need to sell it, I can sell it and probably make a couple $1,000s on it. Yeah, granted, I'm not getting paid so much for my time, but I enjoy doing this. I'd be doing this anyways. That's kind of the way I look at it. I'm not really worried about getting paid for my time. I'm just worried about enjoying my time, you know, and that's how I enjoy my time, is working on this old crap. So anyways, you can get out there, you can find some deals. You know, deals aren't just there sitting there ready to go. You got to kind of go, okay, I can do something with this, plan accordingly, and you know, put it together and make it into a decent, reliable truck, and do it pretty cheap. I mean, I lucked out that the motor was in great shape. I mean, if the motor wasn't in good shape, I would have had to buy a motor. But you can find 350s all day long on Facebook Marketplace that people are pulling out to do LS swaps. Find them all day long for $400 and $500. You know, if it needed a clutch, okay, I would have had to put a clutch in. It was a clutch. I think I looked it up. I think it was going to be like 100-ish, 150 maybe, and then go get the flywheel, you know, resurfaced. None of this stuff would have cost a ton of money. So there's, you know, if you can get them cheap enough, you can put a little bit of money and a little bit of time and a whole lot of work, and you can have yourself a pretty decent ride. So a little pointer for you if you're out there trying to find something like this to work on, something like this to do. So just a little bit of knowledge, a lot of patience. I mean, I was hoping I'd have this truck in and out of the shop in about a month, maybe 2 months, and here we are 3 months in. I think, maybe 4 months almost. We're good ways in on this one, to where it's been occupying half of my shop. You know, a little bit of patience and some know-how, and you know, just being able to hunt down some deals and figure stuff out, and you can put together a pretty cool ride for not a whole lot of money. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at on you know, the money I've got thrown, you know, invested, so to speak, in Little John. You know, still, I want to put the lowering kit on it. I want to drop that thing down on the ground, make it look sexy as hell. But that's just not in the budget right now. I do still need to add another tank to the driver's side. You know, again, not in the budget right now. I found a tank for like 130 bucks, and that's shipped to the door. So, so, you know, I can always do that and put a second tank on this guy, and then maybe my gas gauge will work. I still need to figure out why the speedometer ain't working. It's just little stuff, but like I said, little crap I can deal with. That's no big deal. Most of the time I'm just going to ignore it and just, you know, work around it. All right, folks, with that, we're going to wrap this one up. You know, I do appreciate everybody watching. It means a bunch, keeps me motivated to keep doing this stuff. If you liked the video, be sure and hit the like button. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe. Don't cost nothing. Just helps grow the channel. If you'd like to follow me on my social medias, that information is listed below in the description. But yeah, let's take another gander at Little John. Looking super nice. But just remember, folks, it ain't got to be perfect. Just good enough. And yeah! Yeah! Little John is good enough. It still doesn't get old. We'll see y'all later.